May 24th, 2019, Calvin Castine at the Clinton County Historical Association Museum on the old Plattsburgh Air Force Base property. And what was the name of this building originally?
It was a band building,
Band building?
I think, for the Army. I think it was ROTC maybe at one time.
Okay.
It was an office building. It had multiple uses.
Purposes.
Yes.
Right.
And we are affectionately calling this the Old Base Museum Campus.
Oh, excuse me.
You're excused.
I want to be affectionate too here.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
And who are you, lady?
I am Jerry Favreau.
All right.
I'm president of the board here at Clinton County Historical. I grew up in Churubusco.
Is this right on your shirt there? I see a big
Yes,
button.
it does.
I love Churubusco.
Yes. Yeah, it's my signature. I wear buttons a lot. This is actually Churubusco, Indiana, though. See the turtle?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that.
Well, they came to visit
Did they?
a number of years ago, maybe 30.
They
You
came?
know?
Both people from Churubusco?
Churubusco, Indiana. They came and they stayed, and yeah, for a few
Here for a
days.
field day, yeah.
Yes, yeah. So,
All right, and you were originally a Legree, is that correct?
Watson.
Watson, oh.
Yes,
Well,
my
you're
name-
related to Legree somehow, though.
Oh, yes. My maiden name was Watson. My
Uh-huh.
mother was a Legree.
Okay, there we
She
go.
was Jim Legree, Mary Franklin's oldest daughter, and cousins with Diane's husband, Larry.
Mm-hmm.
And her great-grandfather was one of the ones that ran the hotel in Churubusco.
Oh,
But we'll talk
we'll
about
get
that.
into that as we
Yes.
get going.
Yes.
So, you married into the Legree family.
Oh, yeah,
What is
lucky
your name?
woman I was.
What is your name?
Diane Legree, I'm the historian for the town of Clinton, Churubusco.
You've been a historian for about, what, 45
Since
years?
1998.
Oh,
And then I took over from Geraldine's mother,
Oh.
Evelyn Watson, yeah.
Okay. All right, and what was your maiden name? Are you a Busco native?
No, I'm from Chattagat, I was Orion.
Oh, so you're Orion.
Yeah.
Okay, oh.
Irishman, for sure.
So you moved into Busco, eh? You said, I always wanted to live there.
You've lived in Churubusco a long, long time.
Oh, my God, 57 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we won't ask you how old you are, though. So people wondering, where is Churubusco? Here's an 1856 map of Clinton County. We are in this general area here in Plattsburgh, and if you went northwest, you'd come to the town of Clinton, and there is Churubusco, and the post office is Churubusco. There's no Clinton. There is another Clinton, New York, though, isn't there?
Yes, down in Dutchess County.
See, that's
Yeah.
why they call this Churubusco, I think.
Sometimes the two towns of Clinton gets mixed up with billing and such, so it's a confusing matter sometimes. But if you tell people Churubusco, they know where you're talking about.
Well, I remember heading north on the Northway and getting off of the Shazy exit, I should say, and a big truck pulled over. He said, how do you get to Scotia? He saw following the signs for Scioto,
Uh-oh.
and he was looking for Scotia. So he had to
Yeah.
turn around and head back another
Quite a ways, yes.
170 miles. So you don't have that problem too much, though. Okay, so we're going to head downstairs, a big exhibit. How long has it been going on?
Oh, a couple of years now we put it up.
About time I got here. I apologize for not getting here earlier. It's totally my fault.
I wouldn't say that.
No.
It was all of us. It was just not easy to get us all together. Yeah.
Well, the problem is, there's only 2 weeks in the year when it's not snowing in Churubusco, so that's when we had to schedule Diane.
We laugh, but that's not true. I remember snow on the 4th of July in Churubusco.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Well, it was the highest point in the Rutland Railroad
Right.
in New York State. So.
Yes.
I believe that's why the hotel was called the Summit,
Mhm.
if I remember correctly.
Because it's the summit of the railroad.
Yes,
All
yeah.
right. So we're going to go downstairs and learn all kinds of stuff you've always wanted to know about Churubusco. Okay, first thing I got to ask before I forget, and I hope I'll ask more than once, is Will this exhibit be up much longer?
Probably up through the summer.
Through the summer of 2019, because
Yes.
people will be watching this in 2055, on the
Yeah.
internet.
Well, we're hoping that your program will encourage or get some people interested in coming to see the exhibit.
Alright, so 200 years, this is the bicentennial flag. And of course, back in 1788, there was no town of Clinton, was there?
When?
Back when it was, back when the county was formed, this is
No,
bicentennial flag.
No, we came from the track of Ellingburg.
Which came from Moors, which came from Champlain.
Yeah, so, I don't know why it was done, but it was done.
Well,
It became a separate town. and-
well, originally it was, I think it was basically three towns. Willsboro was listed as one, Plattsburgh and Champlain.
Oh, okay.
And then eventually, like I think Moors and Shazy came off. Well, I shouldn't have started talking here because I can't remember exactly when, but I know they had their centennial. They've had their bicentennials already, and then because Chateauguay was early 1800s, and so that had already been come off, and that was originally part of Clinton County and part of Champlain. So that northern Franklin County was also included. Memorial Day weekend. We're doing this on Memorial Day weekend, but it's not the 29th, 30th, and 31st. That's from 1970. Is this the thing that never took place?
No, it didn't take place. It was a very controversial,
This was supposed to be Woodstock, right?
yeah, a second, yeah. It was very upsetting in the town because of the people supporting and the people not supporting it. It caused some issues, but they didn't come across with the money or whatever, whichever was supposed to be. Tickets were sold, but people did come to Churubusco to see it, and there was
It wasn't there.
nothing,
It wasn't
nothing,
there.
no.
Yeah, this was the year after Woodstock. Woodstock was in 1969 because they're looking to do a 50-year celebration this year, and that might not take place either, and that's what I've heard.
Oh, yes.
But so this was the Churubusco live-in, and Sly and the Family Stone, Crosby, Stills and Nash, Three Dog Night, B.B. King. I mean, you just name them from that period, and they were supposed to be there. Bo Diddley, yeah.
I remember my grandfather, this was supposed to happen, I think, or like around where his farm was, down on 189. My grandfather was very upset about it because of what he thought was going to be going on around his farm. Drinking and drugs and nudity and a lot of stuff. I remember he was very upset about it. And it seems to me, if I remember, the town board passed a lot, yes, about noise.
Yeah,
that kind
a
of put the
noise
kibosh to
ordinance,
it
yeah.
also. I mean, it was advertised it was talked about in the Boston papers. It was really going to be a big deal.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, 'cause it's following Woodstock, and Woodstock was huge.
Yes. But,
Yeah, I remember that was 69 was my era. I was going to the Saxon. I remember people prior to Woodstock saying, "Are you going to Woodstock? You going to Woodstock?" No, but have fun. So I might have gone to Busco though.
yeah.
I think you've been there a few times.
I've been there for some field days and some horse pulling and tractor pulling and stuff
Yeah.
like that. All right, so we move down.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, we're making our way down the stairways. There's a few, I'll call them baseball caps, but they're not baseball caps. Have different things showing Churubusco. And I gotta remember that the town of Clinton is most always known as Churubusco to those of us. And sometimes when I'm listening to it on the TV, I think it was Fox 44 last time I heard it, it was Churubusco
Oh,
a
yeah.
couple of weeks ago.
There's some very interesting ways of saying it.
Yeah.
People outside the area, they say, "What is that? How do you pronounce it?" and so forth.
So I heard it the
I have a
first
hard
time
time.
at the 6 o'clock news, and I heard it again at 10 or 11. I said, Didn't somebody correct them? They said it again.
And there have been two official spellings of Churubusco,
Which one was it?
C-H-E-R,
Uh-huh.
and then C-H-U-R, which John Legree was, or John
Gagne,
Gagne was
yeah.
postmaster, changed it to C-H-U-R. And if you look at the mural on the county building, it's C-H-A-R.
Oh,
And that's not right, that's not correct. And I have voiced that multiple times. Yeah,
Uh-oh.
so, but
Okay.
there's two official spellings of Churubusco.
All right, that's, what, a Spanish name? Where did that come from?
Came from the Battle of Churubusco,
yes,
Mexico.
in Mexico.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in honor of some of the soldiers that fought there, right? And
Right,
then,
out of
and
there.
then settled in the town of Clinton, yeah. If I'm,
The town of Clinton was what year?
1845.
45, all right. I think Altona was 57, so Altona was still part of Ellenburg, when, after Busco came off. So Busco's older than Altona.
Yeah.
Yeah, take that, Altona. So, we got pictures here as you come down. These are old shots, and you did want to thank, before we forget here, somebody here? Jim?
yes, I especially want to thank the town of Clinton. They're the ones that sponsored this exhibit. I gave them a budget for the exhibit, and they gave me everything I asked for. So don't ask me specifically at the moment what we used it for, but because I can tell you, because I can look up in our records, but
You
it's been
better
a
be able
couple,
to.
it's been a couple of years. But one of the things was that this room needed to be repainted badly, and we used their money to purchase the paint and probably do some some copying and a variety of things. But if somebody wants to know, I'm sure I could tell them, because our bookkeeper keeps very, very, very good track of everything around here.
You deal with a lot of state agencies, so you better have your
Yes.
I's dotted and your T's
Yes,
crossed.
yes, but we're very appreciative to the town for their support. When we opened this exhibit a couple of years ago now, what we did was we sent out an invitation, a postcard to every resident in the 12923 zip code, and that's all the town of Clinton. That was probably part of what we got, and we got some bags upstairs and things that were funded by the town. We had 70 people that came to the opening of the exhibit. And the thing that we were most pleased with was they came and they stayed and they talked and they told
Great.
stories and they reminisced, and it was really, really a good day. I think we had some little refreshments. It was in the boardroom, because that's the only place that we allow people to eat, but still, we were, yeah, the town really came through for us, yes.
Great. All right, so we got some pictures here of the early days. You said the team of horses on the bottom was building the Route 189?
Yes.
And where did you get all these photos? Diane Legree had them all already in her collection?
Well, yes, a good share of them came from the collection, but Geraldine, being a past resident of Churubusco, has a lot of her pictures that we used also.
Having her mother involved?
Yeah, with her mother being the past historian.
Well, when my mother passed the position to Diane, of course, all the town, everything
Right.
moved. But being longtime resident of Churubusco, my mother and my family had a lot of family pictures. And I used a lot of that. And Jerry Gagne, whose family had the Gagne potato farm, also had pictures of potato farms, so we used those. So one thing that we found here at CCHA is that we didn't have any pictures,
Nope.
except one, and I'll talk about that in a couple of minutes.
No pictures of Busco?
No,
And you
but-
call yourself Clinton County?
but now we will.
All right.
Well, that's why we're working so hard to make sure that we want to make sure that people understand that we are a county museum and not a Plattsburgh museum.
Right.
And we want them to bring it doesn't have to be the original, bring us a scan,
Sure.
bring us a
Yes.
copy, we'll make a scan, just so that we have them, the record of their towns here, at CCHA. So we're really trying to, I think what happened was it was established here in Plattsburgh, it's the county seat, and, but, so we're working really hard on that. So once this exhibit comes down, the things that go back to the town, we'll scan them. And a lot of them are copies anyway, so
Right.
we'll just put them in our files, yeah.
Okay, you don't remember what the top picture was? Above the horses?
The top picture, they were doing the town hall, right, Diane? I think.
No, highway department garage. I believe.
Okay,
Yeah.
where the fire department is now.
Yes.
Yes, okay. That's right.
It says 1929 on the photos here, so. The bottom one, even that team of horses was 1929. James Legree, his horses Pat and Prince. So James Legree is related to you folks?
He's my grandfather.
Your grandfather? Is related to your husband too?
My husband's uncle.
Uncle, all right. So then we've got more pictures here. Some of these are captions, some aren't, right?
Yes.
Is that the Family Owns Diner that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's right on the Route 11. Still going strong after all these years. And here's one that looks like the inside of a store. P.W. Franklin, Julia Toohey Franklin, grandparents of Evelyn Legree Watson, Dorothy Legree Woods. At a store, what was it called? Don't know?
It was called Franklin Store, wasn't it?
Okay, well,
I believe.
that works for me.
It was up on Route 11, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, those are my great-grandparents.
Okay. All right. So you have to remember, we'll be looking at some maps probably here in a little bit to show the different hamlets that are in Churubusco, and we're in Churubusco. And here's some more different periods of time. It's like an old blacksmith shop here, is it? Let's see what it says. Yep, Hugh Kavanaugh,
Huey
blacksmith.
Kavanaugh, yeah.
20
He was a past supervisor for the town of Clinton, Churubusco, Hugh Kavanaugh.
All right, it says, is that frontier, so that's up near the border then.
Can we talk about Hugh Kavanaugh for a second?
Sure.
Hugh, when he was a supervisor for the town of Clinton, came to, I'm going to say probably all or most of the supervisors' meetings, and fought really, really hard for the town of Clinton. I mean, he was a real advocate for our town. And when he passed away, he was all by himself in his home. And I mean, I don't know who found him or whatever, but what it did was it inspired the town to create like a neighborhood watch
Yes.
for the elderly and people who are living at home. So I don't know if they still do that. I'm sure maybe unofficially people watch
Unofficially,
out for
yes.
each other. Yeah, very much in the village. Yeah. So he was really very, very important, and he's one of those that you never forget, right?
Right.
He made himself well known. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, up until the late 60s, the Clinton County is run like Essex County is now, with a board of superintendents, the supervisors, board of supervisors,
Right.
run the county of Essex, and they did that in Clinton County up until the late 60s. Now, they've gotten away from that with
But
the legislators.
they still do. They don't do it quite like that, but Michael Cashman, who's supervisor for the town of Clinton, is like the chair of this.
Oh, they still have their own
And they
meetings.
still
Oh, yeah.
come. They
Oh,
all
yeah.
come and talk about, probably
Yeah.
town issues. And,
Yeah.
So at least they still get together.
Oh, they still get together,
Yeah.
but they don't run the county.
No.
But they did at that period of time when Hugh
Right.
Kavanaugh was there.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, you got some old artifacts here. Now this is pretty inflammatory here.
That moonshine jug.
Moonshine jug.
Let's back up one second.
Excuse me.
Okay.
All right. Let's go right
Everybody who's going to be listening to or watching this on Hometown Cable will be probably familiar with Legree's Hotel,
in. Oh, yeah?
because that was a huge destination for many, many, many years. And this is the original. This is the Summit. I think there was one before that called the Tremont.
Tremont,
Right. And this is this still the Tremont, or is this a second building? Do you know? It may have been renamed. But then it was called the Churubusco Inn, but it was always called Legree's. Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday, the streets were lined with cars. There were bands, people would go and drink and dance and have a great
And
time.
make noise.
Make a lot
I
of
was
noise.
a neighbor.
Yes.
Was the building still there?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, not this one. I think this is the, is that the original? Does it look? This kind of looks
1922.
like the original,
22.
doesn't it?
So, so this is where, around the block, and, whatever.
Yes.
Is it in the block near the town hall area, in
Yes,
that area
right.
there?
Yeah.
Yes. And this lady here, Alice Silver, which would be a great aunt and an aunt for Diane, told me one time that the hobos coming on the railroad used to come and get off there. And I believe she told me that she was the one that suggested to her parents that they start doing like meals and stuff. And
Yes.
the hobos would come and stay. And
And we can't mention the name Silver without mentioning the Silver sisters and their great quilts, can we?
Exactly.
I think, is it Bernice that's only the last one there?
No, there's another sister, Marie. Is it Marie?
It still lives in, no, there's still.
No, that doesn't live.
No, no, they're
but
all, they're
she's-
all alive. I saw them all last year.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, but Leona and everybody else. But
Mhm.
I think there's two that live in Busco, you think?
No,
Just-
just Bernadette.
Yeah, yeah. Right. And I have one of her quilts, so there.
There you go.
I should say we have, my wife and I. Dairymen's Cooperative Association, Lost Nation Plant. Was that by the railroad track, I would imagine?
Yeah.
Where
was
else would you
right-
put the,
Right
but on the
down
Lost
off-
Nation Road, yeah. Which would be interesting to know why it was called the Lost Nation Road.
yeah, and I can't remember if Dick DeCoste had a thought on that, just, some Indian legend about, yeah,
Well, yeah, it's definitely an Indian
yeah,
name.
yeah.
Lost
It's probably the Hekawi tribe. The Hekawi tribe, everywhere they'd go, they say, where the heck are we?
I was gonna say, I've never heard of that tribe before.
I've heard it, but a little different.
Well, I cleaned it up.
Yes, you did.
All right, we got some moonshining here. Alleged moonshining here. I'm not gonna convict any Legrees of moonshining. It's something he found. He wasn't involved with moonshining, was he? Was Peter Legree Senior?
Peter Senior? Wouldn't surprise me if he was a moonshiner. Yeah, of course, we never knew him. He died, a long time before we were around. But he and his wife were married, what does it say up there, 72 years.
Oh, okay, there it is.
And it said they never heard a heard a radio or a talking movie.
Really?
And one of them died, and they didn't tell the other one because they were so elderly.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Wow.
they were. I'm sure they were way up in their 90s.
So here they are.
Mm.
Picture from Post Standard out of Syracuse, of all places. Legrees of Churubusco. So they made big time there, a Syracuse paper.
Well, 72 years.
Well, yeah, it's a long time.
Yes.
I know, I'm 72.
Yes.
I know it's a long
Yeah,
time.
so am I.
All right, pictures from the past. O'Neill Brothers and Churubusco Frontier. That's one of the hamlets.
Yes, this
Okay.
is the one that's along the border.
Right.
And if you go down 189, and then before you get to the border, take a left on the Frontier Road.
Mhm.
And if you go around, there's one of the most beautiful scenic spots, I think, in Clinton County, because you can see all of the St. Lawrence River Valley. Sometimes you can see boats on the St. Lawrence. You can
Wow.
see Montreal. I mean, it's just beautiful. But there's a few houses left down in this little hamlet. Not many, but a few. So it used to have its own post office.
Yep.
Yeah.
Doctor, there was a doctor down there.
That's where the border crossing is, and it's got the CHE, Churubusco spelling.
Now these historic markers,
Uh-huh.
Okay, Diane is the one that made these happen, and they were funded by the windmill companies?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Noble?
Excuse
Oh,
me,
two of them, the two.
Yeah,
turbine,
Noble.
wind turbine companies,
Right,
yeah.
there's two, Noble
Well,
and
there's
the other one, I can't remember.
5 total, I believe.
5 companies?
Yeah. No,
No,
Oh,
five signs.
signs, okay.
yeah.
All right, so you spelled it with a CHE then, right?
Yep,
For historical purposes?
Yes.
Right, all right. Okay, and we come, this big, who made this? This is,
Debbie and Danny McComb made that for, when the church celebrated 100 years, they had made that, and it was on display. And we had it upstairs in the town hall and thought it would be a good part of the exhibit
So-
down here.
so we'll go back to the town hall when this is over with.
Yes.
Must be a little fragile to transport this.
It's pretty touchy.
Diane will take care of all that, yeah.
Immaculate Conception Church,
One's called St. Philomena.
before that, really?
Yes.
Okay.
It was called St. Philomena, I forget what year, they changed it.
When they decided St. Philomena wasn't a saint
Yeah.
anymore.
But she was still a saint in Canada at the same time.
Okay.
So the books over there, Isaac Johnson,
Uh-huh.
he was a freed slave, and he was a stone cutter, and he laid the stones for this church.
Oh, wow.
And this summer, Arch, the Adirondack Architectural Heritage Group out of Keysville,
Yeah.
they do a lot of tours, and one of them they're doing is Isaac Johnson. But their tour is going to be on the buildings that he did up in the Augsburg, Waddington area, and also across the river into Canada. And so I've given them information that I had from the exhibit and stuff so that they would be aware of what he did for Churubusco. And they're not going to stop, but I asked them if they would just at least make a mention of him and what he did in our
Oh, yeah?
little town.
Yeah, it's an impressive looking church, there's no question about it.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And all the stones that made the church came from the town of Clinton, or Churubusco farmers that would bring them in by horse and wagon to build the church.
Huh. So they were already cleared out of their fields and
Mhm.
took them off their walls or whatever and brought them in. So there's a
So-
little personal touch on it, huh?
Yeah, and the church was really constructed by the people of the town of Clinton, Churubusco.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it's one of the churches that no longer has regular services. Last time I was there was Father McCaslin's funeral service.
Yes.
I think that's when Bishop LaValle announced it. I think it was at the funeral mass. So it's just
I think
What's
Father
happening?
McCaslin's funeral was one day, and 2 days later, the bishop came and said the last mass in our church, and it was closed. We were an oratory for 5 years.
right.
We could have services and that, but no more. The doors are closed on the church, and nothing goes on
No
in there.
funerals or anything like that.
Nothing, no.
One of the interesting things I think about the church is that if you walk in the door coming off of 189, and you walk in, the altar is right straight ahead. The altar's on, what would you call, like the long side? It's in the back. And the story I always heard was it was built like that because Father Murphy wanted the parishioners to be close to him, rather than have the altar here and then the parishioners
Yes.
way on the other end. So he built it so everybody would be close. It's beautiful. I mean, the artwork and the.
So if anybody does want to see the interior, I'm pretty sure I've got Father McCaslin's funeral mass on our website, so you can go there and see interior, because if you go knocking on the door, you can't get in right now. All right?
You'll notice on the model of the church, the roof,
Yes.
same as
Uh-huh.
somebody,
So-
whoever did for the roof made it the same as what it actually is.
Well, somebody knitted that. You think it was the McCombs that did that?
Yeah, Deborah and
They knitted it?
Daniel, yeah.
Really? Wow. didn't know Danny was such a good knitter.
I think it's called needlepoint.
Needlepoint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know all those fancy terms, you know. I'm just a guy. All right, so,
This, Calvin,
yes,
this is
Feel free.
interesting right here.
Apostles of Infinity Love
Yes.
Church.
This were two buildings down on the road to the frontier. And this one had what they called the priest, and that one on the top is where the nuns were. It was a sect out of Canada, I
Right,
believe.
yeah.
They're not there anymore, but they were there for a few years. You could see, you know, them walking along the road, and yeah, it was pretty interesting.
Okay, Apostles of Infinity Love Church.
Here's a
Infinite-
picture of them.
Infinite Love, Apostles of Infinite Love, I should.
Here's a picture of them with Isaac Johnson with talking about laying the stones for the church.
This is not the Apostles of Infinite Love.
No,
This
this
is-
is this church. Yeah.
All right, and of course, the cemetery is across the road, and right, you know, some of it's on the same side as the church, isn't it? It's at all
The
across
old
road.
cemetery, the very
Yeah.
old cemetery is south of the church.
Which was bulldozed, by the way.
The cemetery was bulldozed?
Yes, the
The
old
stones,
cemetery,
yes.
yes.
I don't want to know any more details at this point, I think.
I can remember when that happened. I think
There's,
it was
uh,
Father Richardson that
There's
was.
still some stones
Yeah.
standing that we put flags on at
Yeah.
the Memorial Day.
Yeah, but the majority of them were all pushed to a
a
stone
stone
wall.
wall.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, yeah. So, you know, there's two others. There's a new one, and then there's a little cemetery down on the frontier also.
Okay,
Um,
all right. Now, is this the only church in the town of Clinton? I mean, other denominations, or?
Yeah,
There's a
outside
little
of the
Methodist
Infinite-
church.
There's a little
at one
Methodist?
time.
Okay. All right, is
There's
that
not
still
a lot
there?
of history on it, but
It's a residence now.
Oh, okay,
I think it's still,
Yes,
it was, yeah.
okay. All right. Moving right along, we got the old Busco T-shirts there. Everybody must have one of these in their collections.
okay.
I got to point out, tomorrow night as we're recording this, the Busco Bandits are at the Lakeview Pavilion
Oh,
in
yes.
Kings Bay, so Dick Picasso and his friends will be there. All right, so where are we going next? We want to go all around here? Do you have other
Sure.
things you want to point out? Don't let
This
me skip
one-
by anything that.
This is a shirt that my mother had.
Crossroads of the World,
Yeah.
really?
Crossroads of the World.
That's pretty presumptuous,
It's
huh?
true. It's absolutely true.
Okay.
Ask anybody from Churubusco, they'll tell you. Yes, and this one here actually comes out of Dick's store. We did a little raffle, and we're going to do a drawing. We have some prizes and books and stuff, and this shirt's part of the raffle, but it's still available in Dick's Country Store.
What's the full name? Dick's Music?
Music,
Yeah,
guns,
boys,
and
yeah.
groceries. and-
Yeah, guns, groceries, and gas.
Oh, yes, that's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right there on Route 11, right at the end. You're very close to the Shadow Gate when you're there. So before we go in this corner, should we come right here, or what do you think? What do you think here?
Yeah,
Should we-
because you got the maps.
Yeah, okay, so I'll let you get close there, Jerry, and point out where all these little communities are in the town of Clinton,
Well, this is a map of Clinton County,
right?
and that's pointing to where the town of Clinton is. It's the
Right.
most northwestern town in the county.
1869 map.
Yeah, and this is the town of Clinton, and Churubusco is here. Clinton Mills is here, which still has a few buildings.
Not many.
Not many, no. We'll tell you a little story about the town, about Clinton Mills too. And here's the frontier, and then over here is where Wrightsville was. It had a butter factory, which I believe the foundation is still there, but that's it. So it was all on the railroad.
Right,
These-
except for
all-
Frontier.
Except for the frontier, and that probably had a lot to do because of the border.
Right.
But-
And on the other side, up in Canada, there's that's what that little complex is, just when you get to the other side of the border there, there's some kind of little set of structures there, some kind of housing for students or something. There was,
Oh,
Yeah.
Well,
Boys
that was
Town.
Boys Town, yes.
Oh, yes.
oh, she's grinning here, Diane.
Well, I don't want to spread any false stories,
you
but
can,
you might want to look into that sometime.
maybe we don't want to.
Maybe we don't want to.
Okay,
Yeah.
so here's what the frontiers look like.
Used to be, I remember the boys walking up from Boys Town. They used to come up 189, cross the border, and come up probably going to the village. You remember, not droves of them, but a few of them walking the road.
I can remember my grandmother Ryan from Chattagay. She would knit mittens and take them down to Boys Town at Christmas time, so they'd have a new pair of mittens in their stocking.
Were they orphans?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the complex, I think it's still there, a lot of the buildings.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah, they are. Oh, at least they were 10 years ago when I drove through there. I'll have to Google it and see, Google Earth. What is this publication here from, do you recall?
It was an award that the town had received, town of Clinton had received. It was called the Community Achievement Award.
Oh, all right. Congratulations.
They went to Albany and accepted an award from Governor Como's wife. I think her name was Matilda.
Matilda Como.
She
all right.
gave this little group an award and a luncheon.
All right.
And why did you receive this? What was it for?
It was a thing mostly because of the Neighborhood Watch that they had organized, but
Mhm.
we had received funding to rehabilitate the schoolhouse into an apartment complex. And we were a group that was recognized for that.
All right. Clinton Mills. Tain't there no more.
Big industry,
Right on the railroad.
yeah.
It says Hamlet and town of Clinton destroyed by fire in 1877. Site of R.W. Adams Steam Sawmill Railroad stop until 1931. District School 11 on this road. So was it ever really built up much after the 1877 fire?
No, no.
Just all these
Buildings.
wood buildings, and once one caught, they all kind of went.
Mhm.
Little story about Clinton Mills. There was, I don't know what the man's name was, but he stated that if a certain person was elected President of the United States, am I right, Diane?
Yes.
He would have the town, Clinton Mills, painted red. And that person won, and he had the town painted red.
Politician that kept his promise.
Yes. So if people want to know the details, they have to read the Town of Clinton books.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's books that can
Yes.
tell you all about it. All right, 1920 Clinton Mills Depot. Looks like it's seen better days. So there's no trace of the railroad there now? No railroad buildings?
Just the railroad bed going through.
Yeah.
They use it for snowmobile and three-wheeler and both 4x4 vehicles, they go through there.
All right, there's the Eleanor Roosevelt Community Service Award.
Yeah, that's the award I was talking about over here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Didn't the town receive something from like the federal government? Something? You know, I remember
Yes.
my mother going to Washington
Yes,
to
I was
receive
in
an
that group
award.
too.
Yes.
Sam Trombley came with us, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So, you know, the town of Clinton,
They've done some great
yes,
things.
they have. Yeah.
Grange, the Grange pins here. Of course, the Grange was an organization. Yeah, so they had pins, they had membership. It wasn't just a place to gather. It wasn't just a gathering hall, a fancy name for a gathering hall.
Mhm.
It was an agricultural organization. I was, about a month ago, I was in Waylandsburg, and they've got a Grange Hall down there.
Well,
It's-
the
it's-
Grange used to be big,
Well, yeah, I don't know if there's still a Grange
but I
still
haven't
involved.
heard much about Granges, I don't know if there's any that I'm aware of. There's got to be some play, you said the Waylandsburg?
Yeah, but I don't know if it's an active
Oh.
Grange.
They use it for programs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
they've
quite-
restored it.
It's well, it's well kept, a very nice building. And of course, in the village of Champlain, the Grange Hall is on the same block as St. Mary's. It's right in the corner of
Or is it?
Cedar and Church Street. The former Grange Hall. Well, Jerry's left us. All right. And we're gonna look over here, Diane. Come on over. You walk. Supervisors of Clinton County. We're gonna end up where I was just pointing the camera before I shut the camera off here. We're gonna end there. These are supervisors. This is from these. It says 1857 to 1916. Are these town of Clinton supervisors?
No, I think they're different, from different towns, I believe.
It must be all town supervisors.
Yes,
Okay,
Yeah.
this mentions the
But
ones.
Peter Poupar, who would have been
Peter
town of
Poupar.
it's
Clinton,
town of Clinton. yeah.
is in there.
Yeah, he was supervisor several times. Had a store, his postmaster. It says now torn down in 1872, yeah. So this is him in the corner here. The Poupors, I think don't the Poupors have a big farm in the Chateauguay, Churubusco area? Isn't there a big Poupor farm up there right now, or not? Am I wrong?
Not an active farm. Actually, the barn just burnt a few weeks ago
Oh, wow.
on the Poupor farm.
Okay.
There's a lot of Poupars there, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a common name. Edmund Patnode.
So this picture,
Uh-huh.
I said a few minutes ago how CCHA doesn't have town of Clinton pictures and stuff. We made a very important discovery yesterday. We have a lot of volunteers, and one of them is going through all of our glass plate negatives, identifying them, inventorying them, putting them on a list, so if somebody wants something, we're not scanning all of them, we scan, because we can't, but he's up to 17,000 plus. So anyway, he works in this room behind us. He walks by this picture every day. So yesterday, he came upstairs and said to Helen, and he brought the picture with him and the glass plate negative. And it's like the glass plate negative that he found yesterday in our collection that we did not know we had is that picture.
Well.
So what else do we have? You know,
don't
we're
know.
She's got other stuff. You
slowly,
just- yeah,
yes,
finding.
well, I think it's Rush Studios maybe, or Brewer, I'm not sure, I don't get really involved with that. But they even by the background were able to identify which studio was the one that did the photograph. But I mean, we were so excited to think that we had the glass plate negative of this picture.
Wow.
And if that picture wasn't hanging there, we would not know that. We wouldn't know what it was, yeah.
Yeah, it's the trouble. So
Yeah.
many pictures, you don't know who's in it. I see Edmund Patnode as a name. I know my friend Jim Patnode came from the Busco area, I believe.
Yep.
So, that's probably a relative of my friend Jim Patnode.
There's a lot of patents.
A lot of Patnodes. All right, let me go first here. Stay to my left. Are we going here? Where are we going? This side first, or?
Whichever.
We'll go this side first here. We'll keep the camera rolling, just to show people how confused I am. Classes in country schools, town of Clinton, different one-room schoolhouses, I assume?
Yeah, there was 15 rural schools in the town of Clinton, Churubusco.
And there is at least one left. It's where Irene Campbell, her home. I don't know if there's others. I remember one of them, but it's long gone. But it was taken down. Oh, across from Dick's store, the McCann.
Yeah, John McCann's place, yeah.
Yep.
Where I live on the Ridge Road in Champlain, there was a piece taken off in the 1800s to form for the school district there. It's where my father went to, and the brother and sister went to their one-room school, and it was moved years ago to the Honeymoor's Corner area. It's a home there.
My grandmother was a teacher in the big school the big school, it was 4 rooms, that's up in the village, or in the hamlet. And for when I was born, that's where she was, and then she quit and stayed home to take care of me after my mother and I moved back to Churubusco. But I was, when I first started doing this, I was like, how many schools? How many one-room schools?
50.
Oh my goodness, you know, how come? But then you stop and think about, there were no buses.
Right.
You know, there was no way to transport these kids anywhere. They walked. So of course there was a school in every little, not on every corner, but a lot of corners, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Skip
Okay,
the one in the middle, we'll come
Skip.
back to that. The
Okay.
next one is more of the one-room schoolhouses.
okay. This one is here, okay,
Yes.
we've got those different spots.
This is the building that's across from Dick's Country Store. It's a, is it still John McCann's garage, or does Dick own that now?
No, Dick owns it.
Yeah, but the building is still there. And I don't know if we have a picture of the other one that's still, but anyway, this one here, this was, first schoolhouse in District 5. I remember this still being there in the village from when I was a little girl, but it's long gone.
And that is, what's that, not where the town garage is now? This little,
This one here.
that one there? I
Yes.
believe.
Yeah,
Okay, and here's
Yep.
that big four-room school you're talking about, the four-school room, building, I mean. This is the big building here, up here, I'm looking at it right here.
yes.
Yes,
That's it,
Yes.
diagonal to the church.
yes, it's now a housing,
Right. That building is still very much there.
yeah.
That was
And this is
4
fair-
classes.
This is Fairbanks Creamery, but this is now the town garage, right? No,
Yes.
yes. And that was next door to it.
There were several creameries in the area named for Fairbanks, so they had several, and this was one of them. Of course, that railroad here, as we see, if we look at this map, we can see the tracks coming through here, and again, at somewhere, was it in the hamlet that does the highest part? Where was the Summit Hotel?
Yes,
Was there, so that was probably right where the
the highest.
highest part of the Rutland came through. But,
We highlighted on this map each district,
mhm.
see? And where the school was located in each district. Each district had a school.
Right,
I think the foundation or the hole where the one in Clinton Mills is still there. My
Yes,
Aunt Dorothy
foundation.
told me about it, yeah.
and I know there were one-room schools even into the 50s and early 60s in the Champlain area. I think Perry's Mills had maybe not a one-room school, but an elementary type school that,
This
Still
school was
operating.
still, they were still using that as a school when I was a little girl and when I started school, but I never went to school there. I always went to Ellenburg. My mother was school nurse teacher in Ellenburg, so I rode with her every day, you know. There was no need for me to go there.
yeah,
So,
even like in the Line Mountain area in Shazy Lake, they had
Yeah.
schools for quite
Yeah.
a while that learned longer than you think they would have had these one-room schools.
we would love here at CCHA for somebody to write a book about the one-room schoolhouses in Clinton County, or even in H-Town. I mean, there's a huge story there, and maybe somebody's already working on it. We did have a man come in a couple of years ago looking for information on a one-room school over near Scomotion Creek, but we would love for somebody to write a book about them, because to our knowledge, there isn't one.
Nothing.
Not where everything put together, yeah.
Yeah, I know a couple of years ago when they had the 100th anniversary of the Shazy Central Rural School, they showed where all the one-room schools were that merged to become Shazy Central, and, you know,
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Yes.
Some of those buildings are still there and some of them aren't. All right, okay, now we can come to this. What are we growing here? Taters?
Potatoes. Yep, the Gagne Potato Farm. Jerry Gagne is on our board. This is his grandfather, Edgar, who started the business, and then his father, Edgar, who carried it on, and then Jerry's real name is Edgar, so it was a 3-generation potato farm. I love this picture. I love this
All
picture.
those potatoes, yeah. A lot of taters there.
Yeah,
They were grown for seed and shipped all over the country, right?
yes,
Seed growers.
yeah.
So So these, the little spuds, they just sent them right out there.
Mhm.
And I gotta zoom in on Jerry's name here so people will know how to pronounce, how to spell Gagne. Okay, there's the farm. Where was the farm located? Aha,
It's up on the corner of the Gagne Patnode Road,
okay.
on the four corner up there. This building is all collapsed at this point, but the original house is still up there. I guess this is it.
So it's the Gagne Patnode Road.
Yeah.
All right. All right, should we turn around
We have
while we're here?
We have a whole book of pictures about, that Jerry has loaned to us about the potato farm.
Okay.
So, you know, how they, look at all the tractors. So it's pretty interesting that there was a huge industry
Yeah.
in the town. Then they're sorting them, and so if anybody wants to come in and take a look, we've got,
Everything you ever wanted to know about potatoes.
yes.
All right. And community activities. If you haven't been to Busco Field Days, you haven't lived, right?
Yes. They used to
It's
have
very
the
popular.
best field days when they were in the center of the village. They
Yeah.
were just.
My
everybody would come.
backyard.
Yes, in your backyard. They had parades and, oh my gosh, people would come from all over for the Churubusco Field Day.
I
The
swear.
firemen had a great time preparing for it, if you know what I mean.
I have an idea, but I won't speculate on camera.
This was a parade, not Halloween, but I don't know what the occasion of the parade was, but they often had a little parade around the square.
The neat thing about Churubusco is that it's a square. It's probably about a mile around, and, yeah, it's just,
The hamlet, yeah.
yes.
But people consider the whole town to be Churubusco. And it's-
Right. And it's only that one little
Right,
part of it, yeah.
right.
This is a picture of the plow trying to clear out the snow that we have had in past years. You can see the telephone poles here, and the little plow trying to get through this huge accumulation of snow.
I remember in 1958, as a mere child of the, I haven't turned 11 yet, but going out to the snowbanks in front of my yard, and if I'd wanted to, I could have grabbed the wires
Yes.
as a child. You know, I wasn't. So that's how high those snowbanks were, and that was in Champlain. So
So these little storms that we get these days,
yeah,
nothing like what we remember.
I think this is in the village around the square, somebody just coming up. I can't really clearly see it, but
yeah, kind of
I think that's the town hall up there on the, see that tall building? On
This
the
one
left,
here?
on the left.
on the left.
oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes, okay.
They're right, our left.
This is my grandmother, Mary Franklin. This is before she was married to my grandfather, 1914. She was born in 1897, so she was, 17 years old. She was like the record keeper for this baseball team.
Oh, okay. I wonder
Yeah.
why she's surrounded by all those guys.
Yeah, well, you know.
Good way to meet guys, huh?
Great way to meet guys. Yeah.
Okay. What do we have down below here? Just,
Well, this is just a couple of things that I brought in. This was an ironing board or sleeve board that was made for my great-grandmother by this Duffy. And on the back, somebody wrote that information, and then my mother wrote it in ink, so because the other ones is starting to fade. But it's just a piece of family stuff. The bells and the PL, this is my great-grandfather, Peter Legree, and he used to have, these were on the halter of his horses, and the bells were on his sleigh. And my mother treasured those two pieces. She talked about them all the time and always wanted to make sure that nothing ever happened to them, that they weren't discarded or given away, and because they meant so much to the family. In the back is just a posted poster for people of Jim Legree's property, yes. And here's Peter Legree Jr. with his team. So these PLs might have been on those halters. So,
So I've got PL license plates. These are probably the first PL license plates here.
yeah, I doubt that. Peter Legree, my grandfather, was taking him to a doctor's appointment here in Plattsburgh from Churubusco, and I don't remember where they were, but he died of a heart attack in the car with my grandfather.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So,
All right. There's pictures from the Summit Railroad Station.
I always love this picture. The girls, the gathering where the water tank
Yeah.
is down on the railroad and just having a fun time, dancing and singing and having a good time.
did you get kind of a close-up of that picture, Kelvin?
I'm
With
zooming
the
in on it
girls?
right now, yes.
Because they're, Ruth Gagne and her husband, Herman Whalen, wrote some books about Chaudier Lake. The Gagne girls just lost their brother, Gerald, who has a military flag in the town of Plattsburgh. He was a Churubusco boy,
Mm-hmm.
but that's his sisters,
Yeah.
Ruth and Vivian and Jean.
All right. This is where they got the idea for Petticoat Junction right here.
Maybe. What's the story about this? Because this came out of your collection, Diane.
Yeah, it was a program that helped people get employment and a lot of them worked at the town hall, for different programs and that. Federal program, I believe.
Okay, so put people to work.
Yep.
Okay, and something constructive, okay. And you got some windmills now up there?
A few.
Field?
This book was done by Julie Fillion.
Yeah.
Yes, and she donated a copy to us. It's just a picture book of all the windmills.
Huh.
It's very, very nice. Yeah. She did a great job. I mean, Fillion's Diner is it's a destination.
Well, yeah,
Yes.
People, you can't go to Churubusco without going to Fillion's Diner.
If you go for breakfast or lunch, you don't have to go back and eat another meal till the next day.
they fill you up, right?
Yeah.
All right, Wrightsville, the Marble River flood overflowing onto Route 11 at the old butter factory in the 1930s. So these pictures you took yourself, Jerry?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I was there. Calvin, we're the same age. I don't think there are many pictures of Wrightsville,
No, I
so
have found very few.
very fortunate, unless somebody's got some in their, in a box someplace that they'd like to share the images.
Yeah, it's like Angelville in the town of Moores. There's an Angelville Road, and if you look in the old map, the 1856 map, you can see where it was, but nothing to indicate there was a community there at this point in time, but they still got the name of the road.
Well, another project that we are started here at CCHA, and we had an intern that started it, but we really need somebody to pick it up and run with it, is identifying all the lost towns,
Yeah.
all the lost communities or hamlets or whatever, and there, every town has,
Yeah, I think of
Multiple.
Suckertown right now in Shazy.
yeah, Purdy Mills,
Yeah.
yeah. So we would,
Well, get going on this stuff here.
well, it takes people.
Volunteer.
people.
This
Younger people.
Churubusco Farms, there was a KOA campground in Churubusco at one time. I apologize, this is my shirt, obviously I used it to
Paint,
paint.
yeah, we took real good care of
But
it.
still, I mean, it still tells the story that this campground was there. I don't know if it's long gone though, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the house is still there, but anything associated with the campground is thrown up.
Gone, yeah.
Or gone.
All right. Okay, and now we're moving over to here. Post Office Department, James Gary's big frame here for a big certificate. What was this presented for?
Comes out of the town, yeah.
I don't remember James.
Execute a bond and has taken the oath of office as required by law.
Oh, he's
Must
the
be when he became
postmaster.
postmaster. He got a big diploma.
Peter Pupor was appointed postmaster.
There we go, another
Yeah.
Poupar.
CHUR. In 1897.
Nichols?
Is this the,
That's
did you
ours.
build this?
No, it was there.
Oh, okay.
All right, the fire department, organized in 1970, you know. I think Mike Legree, I think was involved in the early days of
Rescue,
getting that.
yeah.
Yeah, the rescue department.
Mm-hmm.
So some Nichols here, butter making at Humphreys.
Did you read the top one? What his prize? Thomas
What?
Nichols?
Thomas Nichols, what? Sent a 5-pound tub of butter to the 1893 World's Fair and won first prize. Wow.
Yes. And then there's another one, Henry too, won first prize.
In 1905 at the New York State Fair. Wow.
Yeah.
Prize-winning butter and Busco butter.
Butter and potatoes.
What are these? There's never a Busco school. What are these yearbooks? There's a Ellenberg.
Oh, from,
Ellenberg.
Yes. My mother was a school nurse teacher in Ellenberg for a number of years,
Yeah.
from the time I was a little girl until she retired in 1978. So I had all of the yearbooks
Oh.
from 50, maybe from 50 to 78, and I've donated them all here. This is 4 of them. The rest of them are upstairs. They're in our reference library. That was one of the stipulations that I made when I donated them. I wanted them to be accessible. I want to be able to people to come in and be able to use them to do research. So the rest of them are all upstairs. And what we did a couple of years ago, we had a really nice offer from a corrections facility, I believe it was in Oklahoma. And they they have people, we sent them all of the yearbooks from Ellenberg Central School, and they scanned them all. They sent us back a disc and the yearbooks back. I mean, they did a really, really nice
Somebody
job.
comes in and they want a copy of
Yes,
a
and they will
page?
do that. This corrections facility will do that for whoever.
Wow.
You know, and you think, and they give you a list of references so you can check with other ones. So if anybody is interested in having that done, I can't say they would do it for an individual, but they probably would do it for an organization, like a school.
Right.
You know, it's really, really nice benefit for us to have that. So when this comes down, these will all go upstairs.
Yeah,
So last week we had some of the relatives from the LeClaire brothers. We just did a program at North Country Public Radio, North Country at Work. They came in and they did interviews for a lot of people, and the LeClaire brothers, Francis and Charles, and can't think what the third one's name is, were here looking at the exhibit. So North Country Public Radio convinced them to do an interview about talking about their farming, you know, work. So last week or the week before, one of their daughters and a couple other of their relatives came in to see the exhibit and wanted to see their picture in the yearbook. Yes, yeah. So I mean, you know, it's all, everything we do. There's such a that pebble. You know the pebble they talked about the
Throw
other
in the
night?
water, yeah.
Throw the pebble on the water and the
Makes
ripples.
all the ripples.
Yes,
Mhm.
yep. So this picture here, Calvin, is then taking, this actually is, here's a Patno. This is Elmer Patno. That's Jim Patno's father, right, Diane?
Okay.
I believe. And Rose Recor, Grandma Recor, who would be great-great-grandmother, and your grandmother-in-law, I believe. I think this is George and their mother, right, Rose?
Yeah.
Yes. They're taking milk to the creamery in the village.
Up at the factory.
In cans, huh?
In cans.
I've
I still
I've
have my
never-
grandfather's can.
I've never heard of that before, really.
No, Calvin. Oh, that's me.
So you
Oh.
see, sometimes you get an exhibit, you turn it around. and-
Yes. Well, here's a picture of the cans going through when they would drop them off at one end, and they go in on this conveyor belt, and where then they would dump them, but they would also do, they test them, and through like, not a cheesecloth, but it's not really, it's a cotton, like a cotton, not a ball, but you know what I mean, like a
Yeah.
cotton pad. And they would test them, and then they would put these up there, and identify and show you which farmers had dirty milk.
Really?
Yes, I remember seeing the board outside on the creamery, yes, yeah.
You didn't want to make the
You
wall, did
didn't
you?
want to make the wall. This is my grandfather
And you?
and me,
Oh.
and one of our many dogs, see, taking the milk to the milk station. You could see, I didn't know what his number was, because the can has been painted, but I think it was 23, and I think I could see it on that. Yeah, so,
For many years, our milkman was Al Racine Jr., and he had the biggest arms of anybody.
yeah.
He'd throw milk cans all day.
Don't you remember getting milk delivered to your house? Milk?
No.
In the glass
Oh my
bottles.
gosh, we didn't.
Well, no. I
No.
have milk delivered to my house.
Oh, that's right, you were
I had to
lived on
walk
a farm,
outside.
yes.
Of course I remember that. Yes.
Oh, well, when Jim and I lived in Champlain on Route 9, we got married in 1969, Mr. LaValle from Chazy used to deliver, we put our the box outside, I still have the box. He'd come by and we'd get eggs and milk and butter.
Mhm.
Yes, I mean, that's not that long ago. Well, 50
Yeah.
years, I guess it is.
Oh, yeah. We
Yes.
got- yeah. I've got some Sunny Hill bottles and Bayview and all those others.
Yeah.
Okay, just a reminder, we're at the Clinton County Historical Association Museum on the Old Base campus. Is
Old
that it?
Base Museum campus.
Old Base Museum campus. And we're talking about this Churubusco Town of Clinton exhibit that'll be here through the summer of 2019. So if you're watching it before that time period is up, come on down. Gibson Brothers, who are they?
Well, I think everybody knows the Gibson Brothers pretty well. They're famous bluegrass. Now they've gone country.
A little bit, yeah, they're still doing bluegrass, but they're
Yeah,
doing country too. So
yeah. They were not born on the farm, but they lived on the farm in Clinton Mills for several years. They went to school in Ellingburg. Their church was in Ellingburg, but they were born in Churubusco, Town of Clinton. And from the time they were little boys, they used to play ball in Churubusco. They came up and entertained in the town hall up in the second floor where the stage was. They'd entertain at Christmas time for all the kids, and they're a great group, and you should spend some special time with them because they are talented boys. And Erin, the sister, is equally as talented. She's a beautiful singer.
yeah, I remember Sam, my brother Sam, covered a performance up at Northern Adirondack. He came back and says, "You got to listen to this." It was Erin. I think Eric accompanied her
Oh,
her senior year. It just amazing.
yeah.
Sends you chills, right?
Oh yeah, she's
Yeah,
just such
yeah.
a great singer. And when she goes on stage with them, that's everybody thinks it's the highlight of the night. Even though Eric and
Yeah.
Lee are so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
She is.
another one, the Eric O'Hara on the steel guitar,
Yeah. they're the
and
local
the
boys.
Mockingbird band.
Oh, yeah.
He's just phenomenal.
So much good talent from
Yes.
the North Country.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
So
Well,
basically, the Gibson brothers are originally from the town of Clinton.
Yes.
And Eric was, because I mentioned that to Eric one day, that what the road, the Clinton Mills Road, if on the north side is the farm where they grew up, on the road, the other side is the town of Ellenburg. That's where their mailbox was. So their address was Ellenburg,
but
but they were actually living in the
they're
town
on
of
a town
Clinton.
line type of road.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And even though Orville Gibson came from the same general area, he's not, as far as we know, related to.
Yes,
these
he was
guys.
Chattagay too, I
Yeah.
believe. Yeah.
Oh, just on the edge there, right on the edge.
Yeah,
up
right
that,
on
you
the
talk
edge.
about that Lost
Just
Nation
move them over a
Road.
little bit.
That Lost Nation Road there is
Yes.
roughly where he was. Yeah.
Mhm.
And my friend Carol Sears, Carol Honig,
Yes.
written a couple of books.
Well, we wanted to kind of,
I didn't know Kay Woods was such a talented sculptress.
Yes, she did a number of them. She doesn't do art anymore, but that was, I believe, her major at Plattsburgh State.
Oh, really?
And she did some nice pieces, and she had given my mother a couple, so I gave one back to her. But this one here, I'm not ready to part with. This is her sister Anna when she was pregnant for her son Doug.
Oh,
Wow.
And I'm not quite ready to part with this
no.
one. Maybe when the exhibit comes down, I'll give it to Kay, because it really belongs with her. But what we wanted to do here was kind of show off some of the talent, like the Gibson brothers and Carol, and I know it isn't everybody, you know. I know there's a lot more out there that we haven't covered, and we'd love to hear about them and have their stories. And you know, and Dick, I mean, my goodness, the Busco Bandits are well known all over the North Country, and
appearing tomorrow.
think of the people who have been to Dick's Country Store, like what's that? Matt Damon was there, and you know, and others. I mean, that's pretty awesome.
And Eric used to work there.
Yes. Well, Eric is the one I believe that was taught, was one of the first ones to teach the Gibson brothers how
Yeah,
to play
yeah.
at
Dick
Dick's
Decoss.
Country Store.
Yeah, he
Yes.
taught them.
So,
They give him great credit.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we love the Gibson brothers, you know. Yeah, we have a lot of their CDs upstairs in the shop to sell.
Yeah.
So,
And Nichols up in Owl's Head also is they give him some credit too. I can't remember his first name right now. He's a luthier. He makes instruments. So.
oh,
Yeah. Okay.
oh my.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Evelyn Watson.
So that's my mother. She made this quilt when she was 16. My mother would be 100 years this year if she was still alive. So she made this. I have at home 11 family quilts, and these are 2 of them that are in this case. And someday I will decide what to do with them, but not today. So my mother made this one. It's the Dresden plate. And then her grandmother, Julia Franklin, made the one on the bottom. My grandmother crocheted. She didn't quilt.
Oh,
But,
okay.
yeah, so they're kind of special. They belong to the family someday. Someday, not
Someday.
today.
You're not ready to
Not ready.
move them
No.
down yet. All right.
Can you pause for a second?
Certainly can. We did hit that off button by request here, but I was going to do it anyway. I won't tell Jerry that. We're doing this on the Friday of Memorial Day weekend, so what better time to look at this little display right here? Those who served. Tell us about these folks.
Well, the one on the bottom right is my mother.
Okay.
The other one above her is Luella Ricor. We have her information and her photos. They were donated here to Clinton County Historical. On the left-hand side is Doris Gagne Primo. When you come down here, this is my uncle Benjamin Franklin, who was World War I. His
Your
wife
uncle.
Bessie, and the lady behind him is my grandmother. And then this is what you call like a memorial they had up in the village for a number of years, and that's actually my parents. My father's holding my mother up to point to her name on that. And the town, and Diane can speak much better about this, has done another little memorial
Yes, I was
park.
there when it opened.
Yes. And
I think
it's
Mr. Silver had something to do with the inauguration.
yes,
Yes.
Victor, yes, yeah. And this is just a very small representation of the people from the town of Clinton who served in all wars, because there were all wars right from the very, very beginning. And but if you see the memorial up in the town, it lists everybody. We are here.
These are all mainly just women here. Is it? So you're saying the men didn't serve?
Oh no. Well, my great uncle
Oh,
Benjamin
okay.
Franklin.
Yeah, because he's got 2 women with him. That's,
Yes.
that's why you got included.
No, there were a lot of men. If you want to come upstairs and see our Civil War book, you can see who served in the Civil War from the town of Clinton. Yes, and right now we have a volunteer. His name is Noel Stewart, who is doing a project to identify all the World War I veterans in Clinton County. So he's gathering information, and he would love people to feed him. He's reached out to the town historians and lots of others, but he's like pictures and information and copies, and anybody who has any can contact here at the museum, and they can put him in touch with Noel. So
Okay.
this is my mother's uniforms. My mother kept everything. Believe me, when I had to move her stuff, she kept everything. And I didn't keep everything, but I kept things that were important. And she kept 3 of her uniforms. One of them, her dress uniform, is on loan and on display in the Legion in Ross's Point. She's there with 2 other gentlemen, Navy and Air Force. My mother was Army. She actually enlisted here on the Plattsburgh Barracks. She was a Red Cross Army nurse, got on the train here in Plattsburgh and went to El Paso, Texas, and was stationed at the Beaumont Army Hospital in El Paso. And Beaumont is a name that is connected with Plattsburgh. He was an Army surgeon, and he served in the War of 1812. Here in Plattsburgh, I believe, in the Battle of Plattsburgh. He also, he has that hospital at Plattsburgh State. There's Beaumont Hall. There's a Beaumont Street here in the city, and a number of other things recognizing him. There's a plaque on the corner of the building where Ashley Furniture is talking about him. There's books and whatever. So I thought it was really interesting, the connection of my mother going to that
William
hospital.
Beaumont was the first schoolmaster in Champlain.
The surgeon?
Yes, yes. That's where he came from.
Really?
He was a schoolmaster, then he went on to work with a doctor, I think out of Vermont somewhere, I'm guessing, I think in Swanton, and that's how he became a doctor. That's how you did it back then. You didn't necessarily go to school. You worked with a doctor and you learned the profession that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, William Beaumont was, in the early 1800s, was in Champlain, and because the Beaumonts were one of the ones that were settling the town of Champlain, so.
Wow.
Yeah, so Beaumont,
Wow.
and he was there when, his name is going to escape me right now, a guy from Liberia,
Jehudi.
Yehudi Ashman, was a student, so it's very possible that you had a classroom with William Beaumont and Yehudi Ashman in the same room. So,
Wow.
so that's a lot of history right there. For
Yes.
people know who Yehudi Ashman is, the founder of Liberia.
Yeah. I mean, Dr. Beaumont did a lot of experiments and stuff, obviously the way they did them back in the 1800s. But he was the gastric
Yeah.
something. Yeah, I
Well-
don't know. But anyway, I mean, he did, well, like somebody said, when you take an antacid today, you can thank Dr. Beaumont for the research that he did.
Yeah,
So-
I believe his name was Jacques Martin.
Yes.
Up when Beaumont was up in Detroit, not in Detroit, but in Michigan. He was stationed there, and this guy had an open wound, and it wouldn't heal, so he was able to look inside this man's stomach, and he kept track of this guy, and
Yes, yeah.
and in fact,
And took care of him, and he was,
yeah,
what I just read, this, I think it was, is it Martin or St. Martin? Anyway,
maybe St. Martin.
he was like the lowest of the low classes.
Yeah,
So Dr. Beaumont actually saved his life and took him in at one point, and,
yeah.
so,
Eventually, I think that he got to resent Dr. Beaumont because he became his exhibit, but.
yeah.
And there was, you guys remember the old TV show Medic? There was an episode devoted to Dr. Beaumont in there with this Mr. St. Martin. So I've got a copy of that episode. So yeah.
So this is my mother's nurse's uniform
Mm-hmm.
and her hat, and I don't know if that's blood or not, but it makes a good story.
Could do a DNA on it and find out.
Yes. Yeah. She went from,
Looks like chocolate syrup.
after El Paso, she was transferred to Okmulgee to a hospital there that had been a hospital for German POWs before my mother got there. They had, it was American military hospital. Then they made it this POW hospital, and then before my mother got there, they brought it back to being just for American patients and stuff. But I thought that was interesting too. I never realized there were German POWs here in the States, but there were. You learn so much when you put an exhibit together, or if you're looking for something and then it takes you off in a different direction. And
Yeah.
Yes.
You think you're going one direction and you find out you're going in a totally different way.
right.
And there's been books written about Busco, really?
Yes, yeah, 3 of them. How about that?
This one here, the old 1976 one, Wrightsville, Frontier, Churubusco, and Clinton Mills, and then 2 recent ones here.
My mother was involved in this one, the first one, and then Diane and her committee, and Veronica Franklin, and I don't know who else, did the second one. So it's an update, we call it, on the first one.
We still have
Yes.
plenty of
More
this book
copies
here.
available.
If people are interested, just give us a call.
Now how much are they?
$5.
$5. My goodness.
Well, we've got so many of them.
Yeah, and then Larry Gooley.
Larry's book,
Yep.
yes.
Larry also did a book on Churubusco.
But didn't the wind turbine companies have something to do with this, the book that you did, or not?
This one here,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
So,
Some
the wind
different
turbine
ones.
companies have been really very good to the town. I believe nobody pays property taxes in the town of Clinton?
No.
Is that right?
No.
Yeah. So, I mean,
And so all your property taxes, your land tax, your town.
Yes, the
Town
town
tax.
and the county.
Yeah, but not
Taxes
not
are-
the school taxes.
No, school taxes are different, and we
Right.
also have an EMS tax now that's, it's been a couple of years. We have a 24-hour EMS system that takes care of all the emergencies and so forth in Churubusco now. They're at the fire station right now at this point, but they expect to build a new building to, for them to be independent from the fire station.
That's the trend now. I know when Champlain went that direction, Mike Legree came down and he talked. Ken LaPlante, of course, is the godfather of that happening in
Yes.
Champlain. In fact, last night there was open houses at Champlain and Moore's EMS service, and you've got paid round-the-clock staff because the volunteers just aren't available.
No, it just takes too much time for them to train, and they have
Oh,
to,
you've got to.
every 3 years, they have to update their,
same thing with firemen. I mean, it's,
oh,
It's
yeah.
a-
how many volunteers, you know, that there's such a limited number that are willing to devote the time.
Well, that's
for
a commitment
nothing.
now. Before,
Yes.
you didn't have to go through all the training that is necessary now. I think back to before Champlain had our ambulances, like, you know, we really didn't get them till the mid-70s. Ambulances, you know, we had, before that, it was Earl Parsons' hearse.
Yes.
You'd have something going on, and, you know, Earl Parsons or Jack Favreau or something like that would show up, and, you know, and so they, you know, Gerald Mayo and others, Jim Wells and some of the others got together and said, we gotta do something to make it better, and they did, and then from there we involved, with, as I said, with Ken LaPlante and the paid people, and it's really, you know, they save a lot of lives. What else should we
So
talk about? Go
This,
ahead.
these books here,
Uh-huh.
these are books of information, more pictures, things that I gathered when we were doing this, this exhibit from Diane, and maybe stuff I had in my files at home, information that my mother had gathered, that was family stuff, okay, not town stuff, because that got all transferred over. But I put all of these books together, and if anybody wants to take a look at them, they're all here. They will become part of the property of CCHA when the exhibit comes down, so we'll have all this information on file here. But these books were on the table in the boardroom when we had the opening of this exhibit. And the people that sat there and went through them and talked about, you know, what was in them, and just a list of all the supervisors, you know, just little tidbits, just lots of information. And there's how many books? 2, 4, 7 of them. So, and I try to categorize them by, you know, like the schools and
Right.
whatever, so if people are interested in a certain topic, that would be easy to find.
So when can people come down and do that?
We're open Wednesday through Saturday, 10 to 3, and we always tell people unless there's a car in the yard, and then we're open. Because often, we were closed, when was I in here? Tuesday, we had visitors, we had people come in and look at the exhibits and stuff. We're not, those are our official hours, but if we're here, we're open. yeah, Helen's here a lot, I'm here enough. And if somebody wants to knock on the door, we don't, if somebody comes in at, we close at 3, if somebody comes in at 10 minutes to 3, and they say, oh, you close in 10 minutes, we rarely leave at 3 o'clock. So we have a visitor, we're open. We're trying to be very accommodating to anybody who comes by, because we are very well compensated by the county, who, helps us for our budgets, our operating expenses. We couldn't do it without them. There's no way we could raise the money that they give us. So what we try to do here at CCHA is give back to the county for them being so good to us. We try to be good back to the citizens of the county and just visitors in general, because we think it's important. It's the way we can thank them for what they do for us.
If
Yep.
it's an out-of-town visitor, you're representing the county. when they
Absolutely,
pull in
yes,
here.
absolutely.
So who's this Helen you talked about?
Ellen Nurska, she's our director, and she has her a great something is Jebez Allen on the Jebez Allen Road in Peru. So her history here in the county goes back, way back. I believe he might have been Revolutionary War, but she can tell you much better than I can. Her father was either on the board or president of the board, and I think her grandmother too at one time. So there's quite a legacy there with Helen and her family, and the connection not just to the history of the county, but to CCHA.
Okay, and you were president of the board?
President of the board, yes,
Alright.
yeah. We have a great board. We're so fortunate. We have varied backgrounds. We have an engineer, we have historians, we have educators, we've got just people who have been involved with doing exhibits, so we're very lucky and our board is very good. Everybody does what they can. We always are right up front that we are a working board. There's no compensation on our board, but we also tell them that we don't expect, we don't have, we know that people have jobs and we know people have families. I don't have either right now, but I did, and I know what it was like to be able to devote a number of hours to a nonprofit organization. So
You have family, but they're grown up.
yes, they're grown up. Yes,
I don't want Andrew in Champlain watching this and saying, what?
yes. No, I have yes.
Hey, Mom.
Yep. Yes, I have 2 children. Yep, one in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, and one in Rouse's Point. Yes, yes. But I mean, I don't have little kids.
Right, but you
There's
have to
no.
be home every
I
night
have to be
to-
home. Yeah, but yeah, and we have board members that have little kids, and we understand what they're. So
Sure.
they donate their time and their talents and their expertise and their knowledge in other ways. Like Kevin Farrington, he's an engineer. I mean, we would need to do something around here. We turn to him and he helps us, but he doesn't have to be here in the building
Right.
20 hours a week, yeah.
Right.
So,
And you're always looking for more help, I assume?
I'm sorry, Sid?
Looking for more help, more people
Oh,
to
my
volunteer?
God, always. Another thing that CCHA is very fortunate about, we have a very strong relationship with Plattsburgh State. We have an average of 2 interns a semester. Mostly they come from the anthropology or archaeology or history departments, but we sometimes get somebody else, and we're establishing the same kind of relationship with Clinton community because we want to tap into their students also. But I mean, Plattsburgh State, we have a strong relationship, but we also have Bill Laundrie on our board, who was vice president of student affairs, I think, at one time, retired now. So, yeah, we're very lucky, and we know we're lucky. We do everything we can for the other museums in the county. We have a group called the Adirondack Coast Cultural Alliance, ACA, and that's kind of the umbrella for all of the museums, arts and history venues in the county. And we meet once a month, but what we do right now, we're working on putting together Museum Weekend, which is going to be our 12th one this year. And all the museums in the county, I think there's 16 of them that participate in it. They're open for 2 days, a Saturday and a Sunday from 10 to 4, free admission for everybody. For that, they get free publicity in the press. So most of them, we might have one that that might not, like the chapel's gonna participate, but they have a wedding on Saturday, so they only open be on Sunday. So, but we're trying, we do everything that we can here at CCHA to help all of the museums in the county because we have great volunteers. We've been here 75 years. Not here, but, in existence.
Several different locations.
Yes,
Yeah.
75 years. So we definitely have, if they want to come in and do research or if they need a picture for something, we're more than happy to share with everybody, not just the other museums, but everybody.
Yeah. The chapel you referred to is the old base chapel here on the Ovals.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Great place. And then their last Christmas time there for the Christmas Carol.
Yes.
Great venue.
Oh, yes, it's wonderful, yes.
Is Diane's book available here, or did you have to contact?
Oh, no, yep, no, it's available here.
You have a whole bunch of books. I can't say several. You've got dozens and dozens
Oh
of
my
books.
gosh, I think we have about 160 titles in our museum shop, from everything from the wars to Larry Gooley's books or the town of Clinton to, we have a lot of books about all of the towns that have been written. If we know they're available, we try and stock them. So, yeah, we've got a lot of stuff. We have the Gibson Brother CDs, and yes, and we're coming out with a new ornament. Every year we do, we've tried to do an ornament a year. We've done the Hotel Champlain. We did the Old Stone Barracks first. Those two were sold out of. We did the City Hall on its 100th anniversary. We did the Witherell, and this year we're going to do Bluff Point Lighthouse. So they're getting that one in. We're no longer calling them a Christmas ornament. We want to have them available more than just a couple of weeks before Christmas, yeah.
You're not doing any Christmas, though.
We have a couple of big events coming up at the Lighthouse. We're starting to sponsor trips out there. We hire Mickey Maynard. We charge. We have to make money too,
Yeah,
and
okay
we have
for
to
him.
pay Mickey. So
Yeah.
we charge. It's $25 for for a boat trip to the island, and you get a tour of the lighthouse. And the ornament will be available for sale, and our T-shirts and we have some tote bags, and yeah. So
We should point out it's a round trip too.
it's a round trip.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Hopefully.
Yes,
25 to get there, 100 to get back.
Yes, and with Mickey, even that's just special, having Mickey be
Does he fish on his way through there? Or
he does not, he's busy. Taking people back and forth, yeah. Speaking of fish, and then I always have 100 stories to tell. This is the year of the salmon.
I didn't know that. Did
Yeah.
you know that, Diane?
No.
Yes.
No, Diane didn't know that either.
Well, there's like 3 or 4 years, but this is, I think 2019 is the actual, the focus year of the salmon. And what they're trying to do, and I'm sure you've seen some articles in the paper, is they're trying to bring the salmon back. There's still salmon here, but they're trying to get it back like it used to be. It used to be used not just for food, but for barter also. I learned that last year at the summit in Burlington. And so CCHA has an opportunity to borrow some banners telling the story of the year of the salmon. So we're going to be getting them in August, I believe. We're going to put them in the display cases in the county. They're tall. They're like 80 inches tall. So it'll tell. And then we're going to tell the story about salmon in Clinton County. Why this is important. Why salmon's on the county seal.
Uh-huh.
You know that, right?
I know there's a fish there. I didn't pay much
No.
attention to it, but yeah.
It's a
okay.
salmon, yes.
All right.
And the reason the salmon was chosen, because I asked Anastasia Pratt, that the seal was done for the bicentennial of the county. They want to recreate the original seal, but they don't have copies of it. So they did this seal, and I said, well, how come it has a salmon on it? She said, well, they chose the salmon because it's a native fish. So you learned something today.
Well, we have lots of native fish.
I could even tell Calvin something he didn't know. Yeah.
That's
So-
right. You called me a know-it-all. I remember. that.
Yes.
Right on Facebook. Can you imagine that she called me a know-it-all? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, she did.
Yes.
In front of people. You know?
Yeah, yes. And he still came today, so, yeah, so,
Doesn't know the grudge.
yeah.
All right. And Diane, what do you have to say for yourself?
I'm just so thankful that the Historical Society did this for the town of Clinton. It's a beautiful exhibit. I hope people will keep coming until the end of it. I'd
Around the
also-
fall, yeah, probably in the fall. Yep.
I'd like to say I have an assistant historian now. Her name is Rebecca LeClaire. She's originally from Churubusco, and she has a degree from Plattsburgh State in history and museums, and she's working with me now. This is the word, I have the word, this word is hard for me to say, digitalizing
Yeah.
the collection in Churubusco. So she's working on that, and when I'm no longer historian, she will be taking over. She's a great young lady, smart, and a nice person to know, so,
Yeah.
Oh, carrying on the tradition, right?
yes.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
It
Smart,
would
nice
be nice
people
for
to know.
CCHA to have a copy of what she's
Mhm.
digitizing. I have a hard time saying it too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And now it doesn't cost anything, once it's originally digitized, you just copy
Yeah.
that, so it doesn't,
yeah.
alright.
No, Diane's done a fabulous job, yeah. Long time, 20 years now, yeah.
I've always had a very cooperative board to work with, no matter what I'd ask for. They try and get for me. Now I can ask for the moon and the sky, stars, but they were always cooperative, every board I've ever worked with. Very good place to work.
Alright,
And many of the members of the board came to the open house, which
Oh,
says,
nice.
says a lot.
Mhm.
Yeah, Danny LeClaire was here and,
Bob Rushford.
yeah.
okay. So I guess we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks to these young ladies for taking us around, and we're going to close with a shot of the Immaculate Conception Church. You've been watching the Town of Clinton, aka Churubusco, exhibit at the Clinton County Historical Association Museum in Plattsburgh. And if you want to see this, you've got the rest of the summer of 2019 to get here. Thanks for watching.
We missed telling you about Mrs. Cousson.
Well, wait, I got the camera still rolling here. Who? Mrs. Cousson?
Cousson, yeah.
Okay.
Mrs. Pexy Cousson. This house, see where the border
Uh-huh.
marker is?
Right there. She-
Yeah, down on 189, yeah.
So she was, now, that's, I assume these picture is taken from that's not cutting through her house, is it, or not? Is it cutting through her house, the line?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was a
Okay.
line house, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so is she mainly in the US or mainly in Canada?
Looks like it's half and half. Didn't they have a store there, Diane?
Yes, they had a store at one time, yeah.
Gone now.
Gone now?
Yeah.
All right, so it's one of those places, they were quite common, relatively speaking, back 100 years ago, where, you know, I think in Derby Line, Vermont, they've still got some buildings that are like that.
Mhm.
I was over in Alberg a couple of years ago, doing a little story on the refugees heading north, and I know that a lot of refugees were being picked up in Alberg by the lake there, and there's a little cabin there, a little building there that's the same situation. Part of the property is in Canada and part of the property is in Vermont, so it's not unusual 100 years ago to have this kind of locations. So that'll wrap it up. What's her name? Pichet? How do you pronounce her first name?
Pexy, that's
Pexy.
him. That's his name, Pexy.
Oh.
How's
She's
she say?
Mrs. Pexy.
Mrs. Pexy.
You know when women didn't have first names?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Mrs. Pexy. That's
Yeah.
right.
I have no idea
I
what her
don't-
first name is, do
I'm
you?
trying to
Diane?
think of it, and I can't. She was a very nice lady, very active in the town's
You really,
organizations.
right through the 50s, you read those old newspaper articles, and women did not have names. You know,
Right.
I remember doing our story with in St. Joseph's in Coopersville, and all the women's names were Mrs. Joe Bayshard or Miss whatever. Not one of them had their real name listed. So we've changed that.
Thank goodness.
Okay, that'll wrap it up.
Oh.
Thank you very much for watching.